clarity, they would get rid of him. He is dangerous, and his words cause real-world harm to human beings.
Breaking right now, protests at Global Radio's headquarters in Leicester Square over James O'Brien's anti-Semitism shame, but the mainstream media are covering up what went on because they support this disgusting dude, this loser. Look at the incredible scenes outside the headquarters of LBC, which, as I say, I can guarantee you would not have seen anywhere in the regime media, the legacy media, the establishment media, because they want this story to go away.
Get him out! 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 Get him out!
Now, that protest was as a result of James O'Brien reading out this letter on air on LBC. But remember, it wasn't just him, because then LBC's entire production team decided that it would be appropriate to put out as a clip, as a clipped up package on the social media platform X. Watch.
Wife was brought up Jewish, and at Shabbat school in a leafy Hertfordshire town, she was taught that one Jewish life is worth thousands of Arab lives, and that Arabs are cockroaches to be crushed. Whilst young children are being taught such hatred and dehumanization, undoubtedly on both sides, as Chris points out, then they will always be able to justify death and cruelty, and it does indeed start young. But there is a danger, perhaps, that we only ever hear one side of the dehumanization and propaganda process.
Now, it led to a hostage video apology because James O'Brien is a man with no morals. Fundamentally, he wants to stay in his job. So there was this embarrassment, but of course we couldn't see James O'Brien's face during it because the video was banned.
This is very important. At this time yesterday on the show, I read out a message from a listener called Chris, who said that his wife had been brought up in the Jewish faith and had attended what he described as a Shabbat school. He went on to make further claims about what he said she had been taught in that school. As with all the texts and messages that I read out on the programme, I did so in good faith, but the message has understandably upset a lot of people. And I regret taking those unsubstantiated claims at face value, and I'm genuinely sorry for that. And it is very important that I get that out there. And thank you for your attention.
But Reverend Haley Ace, outside of LBC headquarters, said that if Global Radio had any moral clarity, they would now get rid of James O'Brien because she believes he is now real-world dangerous.
That we call out irresponsible journalism from people like O'Brien, who have been absolutely shoddy and embarrassing. And if LBC had any moral clarity, they would get rid of him. He is dangerous, and his words cause real-world harm to human beings, to Jews, to Jewish children who already have to deal with people jumping on their school buses. It's an outrage that in 2025, with the education that we should have about anti-Semitism, that so many can stand by and allow this to happen. So
Reverend Tim Gutman agreed that James O'Brien should not be on air at all.
When people talk to each other and they say, do you know that in Shabbat school the Jews do this and this and this? This is not just shoddy journalism, it's dangerous. So one more thing, as a pastor who laments our role in Christian anti-Semitism, our role in the spreading of the blood libel, I've got one more thing to say. LBC, shame on you!
Shame on you!
Shame on you!
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame
Your response is not only weak, it speaks volumes. James O'Brien should not be on the air at all. Shame on you.
Get him off! Get him off!
Get him off! Get him off!
Get him off! Take him off! Take him off!
Alex Hearn accused the radio station of genuine racism. Big news. Outspoken is now available as a podcast too. So please do subscribe wherever you get yours, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and make sure you rate and review. I'll take 5 stars, if you may.
What was perhaps the most anti-Semitic content I have ever heard in the British mainstream media.
Lies!
And then, incredibly, they promoted it on social media. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a mistake. This was a choice. James O'Brien read out a racist fantasy claiming Jewish children are taught to see Arabs as cockroaches to be crushed. He didn't question it. He didn't challenge it. He presented this as legitimate debate. But it gets worse. LBC's team thought this was such brilliant insight that they clipped it, they captioned it, and they posted it online for the whole world to see. How does this happen in 2025? How does an entire broadcast team fail to recognise blatant racism? The answer is simple. They couldn't tell the difference between legitimate criticism and anti-Semitic hate. That is terrifying.
And Jonathan Sakadoty said the Jewish community has simply now had enough.
How fed up are we of being slandered by radio shock jocks at LBC? James O'Brien told us that he shared those disgusting slurs about Jewish people, about us, because he's fascinated by objectivity. He said that perhaps we only ever hear one side of the dehumanization and propaganda process.
Why isn't he in hiding then? If he said it about any
Well,
other
we
minority?
Jews don't believe or teach our children that non-Jews of any kind are cockroaches, or that our lives are worth more than 1,000 of theirs.
He's a cockroach.
Our pride doesn't lie in teaching our children that. Our pride lies in teaching our children to strive to make a contribution to help the lives of, yes, thousands or millions of other people, to help them live better, healthier, more enriched, freer lives. That is what we teach our children.
To my superstar panel, Howard Cox and Bernie Spofforth. Look, I'm a free speech absolutist, as you know, Bernie Spofforth, but the thing that astonishes me about this story is the total hypocrisy. So I can almost guarantee that none of our viewers would have seen any of that, because there has been a total cover-up, a blanket cover-up of those protesters storming LBC. Now, let's compare that to the reaction, Bernie, shall we? One that's personal to me. Lawrence Fox comes on my GB News show, says he doesn't want to shag a woman. All hell breaks loose. There's rolling news coverage. There are journalists and media crews camped outside my house, camped outside GB News, broadcasting live all day. I didn't even say anything. James O'Brien broadcasts a blood libel. What one of those protesters said was the worst example of anti-Semitism that they have ever heard in the British media. And because James O'Brien is one of them, one of their guys, they just say nothing to see here. We're just going to ignore it. We're going to ignore the story whatsoever. It's astonishingly dishonest. But first, these days we're living through economic whiplash, soaring prices, vanishing savings, and headlines that seem designed to confuse more than inform. Now, we're told this is all normal, that history's been rewritten for our own good, and that embracing these changes is the only path forward. But every outlet tells a different version of reality, and the so-called fact checkers are just enforcing the approved narrative. But luckily, there's a solution. It's ground news, hands down, the easiest way to stay informed because it cuts through all the spin, all the bias, so you can actually see what's going on and then make up your own mind. So I have it on my phone, as an app, and in my bookmarks online because it's become so essential to my daily life. See for yourself, by the way, at ground.news/outspoken. But I want to show you this incredible website and app in action before I tell you about today's deal. So let's use the very controversial story of the UK pop star, washed up pop star that is, using her BBC podcast with fellow presenter and close friend Mikita Oliver, equally awful, claiming she doesn't know how many abortions she's had before settling on 4 or 5. So what Ground News allows you to do is clearly in one place, over 60 sources, 67 sources in fact, covering the story. And then it instantly shows how the story is being covered by the media, broken down by whether the organisations lean to the left or the right. This is what's called the bias distribution chart. Then you scroll down and can literally see every headline about the story immediately, along with the political bias and ownership of the publication. So most of the coverage here is from outlets on the right because the left decided to shy away from covering such casually offensive comments. When looking at the headlines individually, the left-wing outlets that did cover the story tried to do so with sympathy. We Got This Covered praised her for challenging taboos. The Daily Mirror described it as a heartfelt admission. And Metro News went all out, arguing you can't judge Lily Allen's abortion confession and be pro-choice. But the coverage on the right-leaning outlets, far more strident. Fox News honed on the fact she was laughing during the confession. The Western Journal dismissed her boast as revolting. And The Spectator declared we should be outraged by Lily Allen's 4 or 5 abortions. Now, my favourite feature of Ground News is their blind spot feed, because what this does is every single day surface upwards of 20 stories that receive the majority of coverage from one side of the political spectrum. If you love the news, like I do, this blind spot feed is the best way to get a balanced perspective on what's really happening in the world. So go to ground.news/outspoken or scan the QR code on the screen to subscribe today. And check this out, you will get 40% off the same Vantage plan that I use for unlimited access. That's ground.news/outspoken. But now, back to the show.
Dan, hold my beer, right? Because I also, in good faith, posted someone else's words.
Yes.
And 5 police officers and a paddy wagon turned up, arrested me, and threw me in a cell for 36 hours for a mistake that I did in good faith. Now, everybody knows I was arrested because the police told everybody. So, has James O'Brien been arrested? Have they spoken to him about spreading dangerous misinformation that he did in good faith? Because do you know what? Apparently, that's no excuse of the law. Because to me, it's more than double standards. It's absolutely the establishment protecting their own, even when it causes irreparable damage to a minority group in this country that are already needing protection. It's disgusting. He hasn't lost his job. LBC haven't come out with an apology. We just got that, I did it in good faith. I apologised repeatedly and it didn't matter. I was still arrested.
100%. You were arrested. You were, absolutely dragged through the mud in the mainstream media.
Yep.
I was cancelled
for
something I didn't say. I mean, Howard, the hypocrisy is off the scale. And the reason I wanted to give voice to those protesters outside LBC is I know no one's seen this. No one's seen this. It's been ignored. Now, Howard, let me just use an example of imagine if a GB News presenter had made a very, very offensive comment, for example, about Muslims that was untrue on air to an audience of millions. And there were large-scale protests of Muslims outside of GB News. We know, Howard, it would be leading the mainstream media. We just know that.
Well, we've said that the whole of our chats today with Bernie, and I feel Bernie's pain, what she went through. I wasn't fully aware of what Bernie went through, but I sympathise beyond belief, Bernie, with what you've had to go through, and I wish I knew more about it. I certainly will be pushing for, saying how good you are now. So, for my
just
point,
Google me. It's horrendous.
Yeah, I just did that about when we started, just to make sure. But yeah, but what got me is that before that happened, O'Brien said live on air, "I'm fascinated by objectivity." What? And he said, so I'm going to read this email from Chris, which he hadn't even checked or validated all the information, fact checked.
Or had he, Howard?
No.
Or
No.
had he? No, but had he? See, this is the thing. He claims that he hadn't checked or validated it, but remember, it was posted on the X account. He doesn't personally have control of the LBC X account. See, my point is I think they knew exactly what they were doing, Howard. This wasn't a mistake. Because if it had been a mistake, why on earth would LBC allow it to then be posted on their X account where it goes out to millions of people? So I think they're lying. Do you see what I mean? I don't think it was a mistake, but I hear the point that you're both making.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm quite good friends with my petrol friend Nick Ferrari, who I've got a lot of respect for. He wouldn't have allowed that to happen. So I don't know how this did happen. And as you say, it was promoted by LBC after the event as well. I'm staggered by what's happened. There must be some way we can go for them. And the Ofcom at least should do something about it. At the very least, they should investigate it. And he should be actually thrown out immediately. I think we should write to the board of the Global Corporation as well.
I know, but it won't happen. It won't happen because there's no desire. There is no desire for it to happen because we don't just have, and I think this is a good place to sum up actually, we don't just have a two-tier justice system in this country. We don't just have two-tier politics. We have a two-tier establishment media, a regime media, as Ezra Levant puts it. And I think that is becoming increasingly dystopian. And that's why the censorship that we're seeing this week with the Online Safety Act is also just so chilling. But obviously, we will keep fighting the good fight. Thank you both for doing it with me. Howard Cox, the founder of Fair Fuel UK, now, of course, a member of Ben Habib's Advance UK, and Bernie Spofford, who is the host of the brilliant If This Is True channel on YouTube. Honestly, so many good explorations of important issues. I so recommend you subscribe to If This Is True on YouTube. Thank you both so much. But okay, we're revealing our worst Briton in the world this week, one day early. I'll tell you why in just one moment. But I'm getting some comments coming from you on this. Xander X says, Peter Kyle. And it isn't even close. Narinder Kaur is a rage baiter. Yvette Cooper is more of the same. Sadiq got punked by Trump, but Peter Kyle essentially started a digital Cold War. But Lee84 disagrees. He says it must be Narinder. She goes against everything and everyone with the worst narratives you can think of. She's a race baiter. And Practical Joker 1099 thinks it should be Sadiq Khan, quoting Donald Trump. He's a nasty person. You just know it's embarrassing and a relief to have the leader of the free world to speak up for Little Britain, who should be seeing the light and fixing their own problems. And Collie Dog agrees, and says Khan's not that worried about the rise of crime in London. That's why he has 2 Met Police coppers and a string of bodyguards. All of them are as bad as one another. And this one wasn't even close. I'm going to be honest with you. In third position, the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, with 7% of the vote. The runner-up with 8% of the vote, Narinder Kaur. But we've had over 40,000 votes so far, and with 85% of your vote, Sadiq Khan, London's failed mayor, is the worst Briton in the world this week. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.